Another deadline comes and goes, and still no deal with Trump. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Navigating the issues that matter to you. It's Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
It's all too familiar. Trade deadlines are set, negotiations happen, and deadlines pass. That's the case again today with the Carney government in Ottawa and the Trump administration in Washington. Today was President Trump's latest deadline day for countries, including Canada, to reach trade deals with the United States. But even before the deadline expired, Trump was at the White House signing an executive order, hitting Canada again and raising what Trump calls the fentanyl tariffs from 25% to 35%. Trump was asked if Prime Minister Carney's decision to recognize a Palestinian state played any role in that decision. A couple of days ago, Trump posted on social media he didn't like that it would make it harder for the United States to do a deal with Canada.
You know, I didn't like what they said, but, you know, that's their opinion. I didn't like that. Not a deal breaker, but we haven't spoken to Canada today. He's called, and we'll see. But we have made a few deals today that are excellent deals for the country. You know, we're taking in literally trillions of dollars for the country. This is making our country very rich and respected again. We have, you know, I tell these people, and I say it as much as I have to say it, but every leader is at NATO. And I was in the Middle East with the three great countries, three great leaders. Qatar, you know, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and everybody said the same thing. All of the NATO countries, essentially, they said that we were a dead country. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country in the world. Look at you people. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
When asked why there's still no deal with Canada, Trump again complained about our dairy sector and said Canada has been unfair to the United States.
Well, they have to pay a fair rate. That's all. It's very simple. They have been charging very, very high tariffs to our farmers, some over 200%. And they've been treating our farmers very badly. They've been treating our country very badly for years. And look, we like Canada. I love Canada. I have so many friends in Canada. But they've been very poorly led. They've been very, very poorly led. And all we want is fairness for our country. That's all. You know, they want to be under the, as we call it, the Golden Dome. And I said, well, you know, you're going to have to pay for that. They want a lot of things from our country, and for years we did it. We basically protect them with our military. They spend very little money on their military, as you know, not an acceptable amount of money.
In a late-night statement, Prime Minister Mark Carney said he's disappointed but remains committed to getting a deal done. While on the Fox Business News Network, one of Trump's top people on the trade file, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, said Canada is tone-deaf and claimed that Canada is just one of two countries in the world that couldn't come to a deal with Trump.
But Canada, I take it, not so much or not so good.
Well, imagine, like, the president truthed out that the Canadians put out, oh, we're going to recognize the Palestinian state. I mean, come on, don't be so tone deaf, right? The president is totally into trying to get peace in Gaza, and you're throwing your hat in the ring from Canada? Come on. You know, they still haven't solved dairy. They still have two countries on the whole world retaliated against the United States of America tariffs. China, which we all know, and Canada. So, you know what? I just don't see the president stepping off the gas. Now, Mark Carney came down, had a really nice lunch with the president when he first got elected. You know, if he makes that call and if he starts turning on the charm and if he takes off his retaliation, let's, you know, and stops the silliness, maybe the president will let it down a bit. But right now, 35%, that letter he sent, is surely in the cards.
Another top Trump trade official is the Treasury Secretary in the United States, Scott Bessent. He told CNBC this week there is a chance of a break on aluminum tariffs because most of the Ford Motor Company's new pickup trucks are built with aluminum that comes from Quebec.
Ford, I believe, has the highest U.S. production of any auto manufacturer. I think that there were numerous circumstances with Ford. I believe that the Ford, F-150, 250, their big truck series is made out of aluminum instead of steel, which is different than other cars. So I think maybe the aluminum tariffs have hit them harder. We will be negotiating with Canada on those.
Speaking in Thunder Bay, Ontario Premier Doug Ford once again went after Trump, suggesting he can't be trusted.
It's a problem with President Trump. And, we're united. First of all, I've never seen this country more united, ever, in all my years of being in politics. And it's a great feeling, all provinces, territories, municipalities, and the federal government. But, Prime Minister Carney's trying his best, but this guy will say something one day, and he'll wake up, and the cheese slips off the cracker, and then all of a sudden he goes the other way. And you're thinking, how do you deal with a guy like this? Are we hoping that we can get a deal with zero tariffs? Yes. But I always say how we can kick back, and it's not the American people, kick back at President Trump. Let's start onshoring everything, absolutely everything we possibly can.
This new executive order from President Trump and the higher tariff rate for Canada doesn't apply to products covered by the current free trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. It means most Canadian exports to the United States continue to cross the border tariff-free. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know, and this is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
He is our expert in communications, crisis communications, political communications, branding, and leadership. Barry McLaughlin is the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Barry lectures at the Telfer School of Management at the University of Ottawa and at the MBA program at the Shannon School of Business at Cape Breton University. And you can read Barry on his Substack. Welcome back.
It's great to be back, Rob, and welcome back to you, too.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back at work, but my gosh, we spent a week in the Margaree Valley, Barry. I could see the attraction.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. We had a great time, all over Cape Breton, really, and we even went to Chester for 5 or 6 days as we do every summer. And it's just, I'd love to go back even before this summer ends, if I possibly could.
Yeah. It's a great part of the country. So let's jump into things. I mean, here we go again. I mean, the country has been here before more than once, but now we have another trade deadline has passed between the United States and Canada. Trump is hitting our country with higher tariffs. What would be your advice to the government on messaging?
Well, first of all, you can't whine and complain. It just doesn't work, and that's not on. I think the first thing he has to do, I believe, is to confirm that Canada has met all requirements, and it is truly unfortunate that Mr. Trump has taken this path, because ultimately it doesn't help the United States of America, and in fact it hurts the consumers of the United States of America. That all of these tariffs will ultimately be paid not by Canadians, but actually by American consumers. I think that message is actually totally lost. I've spoken to so many Americans who don't think of it in terms of a tax on them. Well, in the end, when you buy those appliances with steel and aluminum, when you buy the auto and everything else, ultimately you're paying this, not the distributor, not the importer, but you, the American consumer. And it's so sad that Mr. Trump has decided to put this on your and your family's shoulders to the tunes of thousands of dollars a year. I would hammer that one home.
Okay, let me run this by you. We've seen Doug Ford all over American cable news as this has dragged on CNN, on Fox, on CNN, on all of them. Even at one point, Justin Trudeau when he was still prime minister, he was on cable news on I can't remember what show it was. I think it was a show on CNN.
Mm-hmm.
Would you advise Mark Carney to do an interview like that on an American news network?
No. First of all, it's not his style.
Why not?
Well, I think it goes back to you're just, deciding to counterattack Donald Trump. You're going to play his game. And in the end, he holds a lot of the cards. He is actually right about that. Not all of them, as he claims, but a lot of them. And to do that just ratchets it up. It's got to be, we always call it more in sadness than in anger. That's what he's got to do. And just the way I was trying to imitate there, that, keeping that on that type of tone of voice. And then, of course, it plays perfectly into his action plan that he's laid out about cross-Canada, about eliminating internal tariffs, about reaching markets that we haven't before, making the kind of investments. These are his core media points. These are his action set, and he's got to pivot to that. He has to not so downplay it, though, that it means nothing. It is meaningful. It will cost jobs. It will mean major transitions in key parts of our economy. And, so he can't do that. But he also to show that caring is one thing, but taking action is another. And I think he's got to absolutely connect the dots of this to the Canadian people. Yes, we'll be suffering as a result of this, but also, as I say, to the American consumer. And I believe it'd be better done to a great extent by premiers with the right playbook, reaching their states. I believe that each state that is the number one, Ontario to Michigan and so on, that they reach their target states, and they're mostly red states, by the way. And the real message there is, ask your governor, your congressmen, and your senators why they're not standing up for you. Ask them why, when they go to Washington, they don't stand up for you, the consumers in your state, who have to end up paying for these tariffs.
I mean, you have said in the past, don't call a news conference unless you have news. I mean, in the last 24 hours, they've really gone dark. I mean, there's one statement and that's it. Members of the press gallery are frustrated because they're trying to get something out of Dominic LeBlanc, who's been in Washington for days and is just not returning calls or emails or anything. They've really gone dark. What do you think about that?
Well, there's got to be a news conference. I mean, this is very announceable news. Canada's response to this, they've got to do it. When they do it, I don't know. Like once you pass noon on Friday, you're kind of dropping into a zone of it's not your maximum media coverage time. But so maybe they feel I don't have hard news, but I have reaction news. And the reaction news, this is worth the reaction news conference. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't do it. He shouldn't wait too long, though. Maybe he's just lining up the dots perfectly well. He's got a lot of people to touch base with before he moves forward. But I think he can certainly do that news conference and do it well.
All right. Well, we can come back with Barry, something in a totally different direction, Barry. Her name is Sydney Sweeney, and she's got great genes. That was, boy, that was all over social media this week. I have to have your take on this. What you think of this latest branding initiative from the clothing retailer American Eagle? When we come back, I'm Rob Snow, here with Barry McLaughlin from TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
Back with Barry McLaughlin, the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. You and I have talked so much about failed attempts at marketing exercises. We talked about the Bud Light fiasco, the incomprehensible Jaguar ad. You remember that, Barry, that did not go over very well for Jaguar. But here we have clothing brand American Eagle creating a lot of buzz online this week over a series of new commercials featuring the actress Sydney Sweeney. We're going to play a couple here. Play number one, please, Leo.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My jeans are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
Okay. Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Let's play number 2, please.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
I think they're very clever. I think it's a return to the age-old adage, sex sells. She's a beautiful woman, looks great in the jeans. They're going to sell a lot of jeans. Some people have taken offense, however, with this idea. Sydney Sweeney has great jeans, saying it's white supremacy, it's eugenics. I think this is people parking their brains at the door, or they've run out of things to complain about. What do you think?
Well, a couple of things here. I mean, one is visuals cancel out content. So on any video commercial, you're going to remember the visual of Sydney Sweeney. It's going to cancel out usually a lot of the content. Secondly is implied messaging is often more powerful than, hitting it as an obvious point. So it's implied message. You can read into that what you want. You can read into it. Is she talking about jeans, G-E-N-E-S? Is she implied she's got great jeans is usually an expression that hey, he's got great jeans. You would use that expression when you're talking about genetics. It is true, but you get to read into that. I do think it's an overreach. I think they're trying to reach for something that really, isn't there. It's in the eye of the beholder, yes. I think it's it accomplishes one major thing. American Eagle should give whatever dollars to that advertising agency and to Sydney Sweeney in that they've created far more earned media than any paid media they're ever going to do. So even if they paid for all those slots, it wouldn't nearly reach the massive impact that earned media for free has given them. And it really is an amazing impact job that the advertising agency has done. If you're talking about it, every program is talking about it, wow, free media, earned media. So it is brilliant as an advertising initiative. Just as the astronomer one that came out following the fiasco of the CEO,
at the Coldplay concert. Yeah.
It really. So the advertising that came out of it afterwards was really quite brilliant. It changed the channel from the actual event itself into a new way of thinking about the company. And Gwyneth Paltrow did a great job of it. And Ryan Reynolds turns out it was his company that did it. It was pretty brilliant.
All right. Great to hear from you. Enjoy your August long weekend and in the Ottawa area, Colonel By Day, Barry. Enjoy that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
We'll speak soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Barry McLaughlin from TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants. Tom Korski from Blacklock's Reporter. Just ahead. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. The latest breaking news is coming up here on News Radio. And he has been minding Ottawa's business all week long. Tom Korski is the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. And it's so great to hear from you again. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you, Rob.
This week, Prime Minister Mark Carney said it is his government's intention to recognize a state of Palestine, and that will happen at the United Nations General Assembly in New York City coming up in September. Interesting, because it would seem that is really, it wasn't the will of Parliament when it was put to Parliament in a vote. What happened at that time?
And that's not ancient history either, Rob. That was in 2024, and you Democrats went with a motion to declare, recognize Palestine as a country. And the portion of the motion that stated that was deleted by a majority of MPs. A large majority, 204 MPs, voted that down. They said, no, we're going to stick with current policy and we're going to dress it up with the various conditions, but two-state, et cetera, and the diplomatic language that they've used for 50 years, that the current Prime Minister disregarded in his announcement this week. It is noteworthy that what the Prime Minister described was not what the House of Commons voted on, and that he made his announcement, I speak for Canada now, he said, quote, end of quote, with Parliament in its 13-week summer recess. That's a big deal.
Yeah, really interesting, because it totally flies in the face of a vote, as you say, that happened just mere months ago on the floor of the House of Commons on recognizing a state called Palestine. Okay, let's move on here. We're going to actually go live right now to Parliament Hill. There is business happening. Yes, in the dead of summer here on the 1st of August, some MPs and cabinet ministers are hard at work, and they're having a committee meeting right now, and it even features high-profile cabinet minister of transport, Chrystia Freeland. Let's listen to a little bit of this here.
71 letters to the agencies I control are about saying when you are looking at your procurement, you need to put a priority on Canadian manufacturing jobs, on steel, aluminum, and softwood. And I do want to point to this meeting that we're going to hold with the shipbuilders and with steel and aluminum and the ferry operators.
Thank you, Minister. So the reality is, though, the dismay, the consternation, the letters, they won't put food on the table of our aluminum and steel workers. The contract with BC Ferries could have done just that. And but I do want to get into the facts. Will you call today unequivocally for the canceling of the CIB, the Canadian Infrastructure Bank loan that underpins this this contract between BC Ferries and the Chinese shipyard? Will you call for it?
You know I have a lot of respect for you, but I disagree that instructing all of the Transport Canada agencies to procure from Canada won't help. Of course it will help. This means that going forward, they are going to be using steel, using aluminum, using lumber. And the meetings of the shipbuilders and
That's
of
good,
the rail.
Leon. Thank you. So this is the Standing Committee on Transport Infrastructure and Communities, the TRAN Committee. What's up here, Tom?
Oh, it is bad, Rob. It's just a disaster. Cabinet was really blindsided by this, but they get to wear it because that's the privilege of being in government. The British Columbia Ferries Corporation, Crown Corporation, buying 4 new ferries, new vessels, and slowly replacing their aging fleet. They got $1.1 billion in financing from the taxpayers of Canada through the Canada Infrastructure Bank. There's only one place that bank gets its money, and that's you. And they turned around and they awarded the contract to a Chinese state-run shipyard. And MPs, when they found out, their heads exploded and said, "Are you kidding me? Forget about elbows up." And the feds have been backpedaling ever since. They couldn't get over. You're actually subsidizing job creation in China. Why would you do that?
Yeah. So they have set aside 5 hours here for this today. As I mentioned, Chrystia Freeland, who is now the Minister of Transport and Internal Trade, kind of a fall for her, I have to say. Minister of Transport and Internal Trade from basically Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. So then they'll hear from some high-ranking people in the Department of Transport, the Deputy Minister and one of the Assistant Deputy Ministers, probably one of a dozen or so. And then later today is Mayor Moonbeam. Tom will be there.
That'll be gold. That's right, Gregor Robertson, Minister of Infrastructure. My favorite, though, is the CEO of the Canada Infrastructure Bank. Come on down, Aaron Corey. We've seen Corey testify in committee before. Have you ever seen a human being literally melt under the hot light?
Right.
Yeah, Aaron does not do well in committee.
Well, lucky for him, there is a bit of a chill in the air today in the nation's capital as we arrive into August. The heat wave is out of here. Maybe that'll help him survive the grilling that is sure to come his way. Tom Korski is with us. He's the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. We'll be right back. Lots of news, even though it is the dead of summer. Lots of news stories to tell you about. They've been covering it all. And minding Ottawa's business at Blacklocks. We'll tell you more when we come back on News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
We are back with Tom Korski, the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Passenger ferries and fixed crossings between provinces very much in the news this week. The Prime Minister traveled to Prince Edward Island to make good on an election promise, and that was to lower the toll on the Confederation Bridge between New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. This was kind of an election issue in the battle for votes in the cradle of Confederation. So the toll is going from more than $50, I think $50.25, if memory serves, it'll go down to $20. Correct. But what does that mean? This is very interesting and a tidy little scoop by you. What does this mean for the husband of Anita Anand, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Well, he was an investor in that bridge as a managing director of a pension fund, Ontario Municipal Employees Pension Fund investment arm, that owned a third of the bridge shares. The financing and the shareholding arrangements of the Strait Development Crossing Corporation are top secret, not a publicly traded organization, very secretive, and they only know what they decide to say. One of the great taxpayer ripoffs of all time in the day, Rob, even Liberal MPs who were there when this was approved said, are you sure? Taxpayers built that bridge at $1 billion cost, and then they leased it to private investors for 35 years. And if that wasn't sweet enough, they guaranteed toll revenue, whether anyone drives across it or not, and then adjusted that to inflation. When the pandemic hit, they gave the shareholders $1,000. The budget officer estimated the margin on that bridge is something like 54%. Who makes 54% in a year? Organized crime and the operators of the Confederation Bridge. It's unbelievable.
Oh my goodness gracious. I didn't know any of that. That is absolutely incredible. And the Department of Transport is sealing records over this. What's that about?
Yeah, we've been after those records, and they've now sealed them. Everything about the Confederation tolls and the back and forth with the private shareholders until 2026. That's nobody's business. Rob, if you got in the ground floor of the Confederation Bridge, and that was a very exclusive list. There have been more Canadians going to outer space than got in on that deal. It's just a money machine. You sit there and you count your dividends. You literally can't lose. So when the Prime Minister says, what a good boy am I, I'm going to cut the fares in half on the Confederation Bridge, he then turns to the taxpayer and says, by the way, here's the bill.
That's incredible reporting, Tom Korski. Good on you for that. How many, switching to another issue here, I think about the diplomatic corps, I think of people of outstanding character, integrity, and ethics. I really do. Like we would only send our best people abroad to represent our country. how many of them were fired last year?
22, and that was just based on complaints. They didn't actually do any independent investigation until they got a complaint. What were the offenses? Fraud, theft, embezzlement, soliciting kickbacks. That was my personal favorite. An unidentified Canadian diplomat at an unnamed mission abroad gave raises, air quotes, pay raises to local employees like the chauffeur and such, and then he told them, he squeezed them to kick back the funds into his private bank account, and he was fired. Number of police who were called on these 22 cases, none, Rob, because then you'd have to go to open trial and we'd start getting names and then naming and shaming. They don't want that.
No. So there are there's no criminal investigation underway into any of these firings. These are just human resources. These are just human resources issues, I guess.
Absolutely. No, there have been MPs and senators go to prison for less. Absolutely.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Our time is a little bit tight. This is one of your stories today. Tell me about this petition. It's a Liberal-sponsored petition. It's asking the House of Commons to criminalize political lies. Tell me about that.
Sponsored by new Liberal MP Karim Bardisi's newly elected in Toronto, used to be a longtime political aide for Ontario Liberal premiers. What does the petition say? That the Parliament should enact a bill to address the issue of, I'm reading the text, perceived and actual misinformation with criminal sanctions. Not that you'd go to prison, but you would be named and shamed by a court and forced to resign and forbidden from seeking office. What is a lie anyway? Oh, definitions. That's where the devil is in the details.
Sure thing. Let me tell you, if we are going to criminalize lying by politicians, we're going to have to build many, many more jails, Tom.
Could be a growth industry, you betcha.
Enjoy the August long weekend, my friend. We'll speak soon.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Yeah, bye-bye. From Blacklocks reporter, that's Tom Korski. He's minding Ottawa's business. Aren't you glad someone is? Be right back. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Yes, on Friday, before the August long weekend. And if you're ever looking for a podcast of our show, now you know with Rob Snow, we have a great new mobile app that will help you hear our show when you want to. Listen live, listen to the podcast. Called the Seeker app. That's Seeker, spelled Seekr. And it has all kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, and sports. And you can download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, spelled Seekr. And now you know with Rob Snow is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So the Toronto Blue Jays were off yesterday, day off for them yesterday. They're back in action and back at home at Rogers Centre in Toronto, and they're hosting for the next 3 games the Kansas City Royals. The KC is 1 game below 500 right now. As for the standings in the American League East, the Jays are still on top with a record of 64-46. Very impressive, 5-5. So they're playing 500 ball over their last 10 games, and still 3.5 games up on the New York Yankees, and 5 games ahead of the Boston Red Sox. So that's, you can, of course, catch that game on Sportsnet. First pitch tonight is 7:07 Eastern, and then it's a matinee tomorrow, Royals and Blue Jays, and then a 1:37 p.m. start on Sunday. And then they'll hit the road next week, and they'll be in Colorado to take on the Rockies. So that's the very latest on the Blue Jays. I was not looking forward to the CFL action last night because you had the Calgary Stampeders, who are playing very well so far, almost halfway through the CFL season, and you have my Ottawa Redblacks, who have just been terrible all year. They only had 1 win. It actually came against the Calgary Stampeders, and now they have 2 wins both against the Calgary Stampeders. For some reason, the Red Blacks were just dynamite yesterday with a 31-11 win over the Stamps. More CFL action tonight. It's the Argos in Winnipeg, 8:30 Eastern kickoff. Then tomorrow afternoon, it's the first place Tiger Cat. Hamilton just having a great season. Not so for the Edmonton Elks. They're terrible. They're in the basement of the CFL. And as well, tomorrow, the late game is the Riders, who are first in the West, against the Alouettes of Montreal. So some pretty solid CFL action. I have said repeatedly, and actually we're not here on Monday. We're taking the August long weekend. It's called a whole bunch of different things all across the country. In Nova Scotia and in Prince Edward Island, for that matter, it's called Natal Day, celebrating Confederation. Basically, the fact that Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island are, two of the first provinces to join Confederation. So it's a Natal Day in the Monday holiday in Nova Scotia. In Alberta, it's called Heritage Day, Alberta Heritage Day. And in Ontario, we basically just call it the civic holiday. It's not even a federally regulated holiday. It's just it's more for municipal employees, the civic holiday in Ontario. In Newfoundland and Labrador, they call it Regatta Day. In Manitoba, it's Terry Fox Day. In Saskatchewan, it's Saskatchewan Day. In British Columbia, it's British Columbia Day. And in New Brunswick, it's New Brunswick Day. But then it has a bunch of other names in various parts of the country. Simcoe Day in Toronto. In the nation's capital, the city of Ottawa, it's called Colonel By Day. Colonel John By oversaw the construction of the Rideau Canal. So that's why they celebrate Colonel By. In Burlington, it's Joseph Brant Day. Tyendinaga, the Mohawk military and political leader. And it's Benjamin Vaughan Day. That's where the city of Vaughan, Ontario, north of Toronto, gets its name, after Benjamin Vaughan, who co-negotiated the Peace of Paris, the treaty that ended the American Revolutionary War. But whatever it is, I'm taking the day off on Monday. But we're not done yet. It's the Friday Free-for-All Talkback. So you take the lead on Talkback today. We'd love to hear from you right after the latest breaking news on News Radio. Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today, it's the Friday Free-for-All. That's our favorite day of the week around here. And it's the Friday before a long weekend, which is the best kind of Friday. And it's payday around here as well, so that's an added bonus. But look, on the Friday Free-for-All, it's just like it sounds. It's a free-for-all. We don't come up with the topics on Friday. We leave that job up to you. We are more than happy to follow your lead. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? 1-833-668-2577 and 1-833-668-2577. If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, look, there's always news. There's been lots of news this week that we can get into. If you want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, you just feel free to raise it here, whatever it happens to be. It can be deadly serious. It can be not so serious. We have a phone line for you. We're always ready to hear it. We are standing by to take your call. The call-in line again, 1-833-668-2577. And if you've never called before, just mention that to us, that you're a first-time caller, and we'll make your call a priority. We'll kind of give you priority access to have your say. We always have some topics in the mix, just in case things are a little quiet to start. But on Fridays, you just consider these topics to be conversation starters and nothing more. Biggest story in the country today is Carney, Trump, and trade. How do you view this news? Carney, Trump, and trade. And no deal. And another deadline comes and goes. Do you hold this against Mark Carney, that he has failed so far to come to an agreement with the Trump administration to eliminate these tariffs, get these tariffs knocked down. This is a knock against Mark Carney. What do you think? Mark Carney is the person that most Canadians believed, at least in the last election, would be the best person to deal with Donald Trump. Certainly that was part of his self-promotion during the election campaign. He was always saying during the election campaign, oh, I know how the real world works. And wherever he went, he always said, oh, Pierre Poilievre will never be up to the task of coming to an agreement with Donald Trump. Well, so far, he hasn't been up to the task of coming to an agreement with Donald Trump. But enough Canadians were convinced the country needed someone with the kind of resume that Mark Carney has, investment banker, central banker, master of offshore accounts, and yet April turned into May, along came June, now July is past, here we are, it's the first day of August, for crying out loud, and still there's no deal between Canada and the United States. Tariffs on some Canadian exports are going to be higher than they were yesterday. Like, we're going in the opposite direction. And now there's this added irritant of the Prime Minister's decision to move ahead and recognize a Palestinian state. Something that obviously is not meeting with a great deal of approval from Trump and his people. Is this a failure? Do you view this as a failure? Has Mark Carney failed Canada? Or is this just what you get when you try to deal with Donald Trump? The fact remains, we have a trade deal with the United States. It was signed by Donald Trump. The Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, CUSMA, Donald Trump signed it. Donald Trump boasted about it at the time. And the fact remains, most of our exports are still covered by that deal, aren't subject to these new tariffs. So another way to look at it, in fairness, is what's the value of a deal with Donald Trump anyway? He signed the last one, and now he's like basically reneging on it. That's another way you can look at it. Another way yet to look at it is taco. Trump always chickens out. Taco, that's Trump's nickname apparently on Wall Street. They have the taco trade. Trump always chickens out. Deadlines come, deadlines go, and Trump chickens out. And the talks will go on, and this is just a bump in the road, and eventually Canada will come to an agreement with the White House, and all of this is just, noise. August 1st, deadline date. What do you think? Where do you come down on that one? Just throw it out there as a conversation starter because it is a big news story today. Higher tariffs for some Canadian businesses and no deal with Trump. Heavy-duty topic, kind of wonky if you want to comment on it. Offer something up. We're all ears. Why don't we take a call, though? You'd rather hear from our callers on the Friday free-for-all? In Cochrane, let's start there and talk to Ken today. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Rob, how are you doing?
I'm good. Ken, what's on your mind?
Well, a couple things. First of all, your guest from Blacklock's reporter, I can't remember his name.
Tom Korski.
But that ought to be the story that is resonating with a lot of people, and Anita Anand's husband's role in that just, that doesn't pass the smell test. And people ought to be marching in the streets in Ottawa about that. That needs to be highlighted a lot more. But with respect to your question also about whether Carney is failing Canadians, I'm of two minds of this, and you know that I'm a big C conservative, but I think he does need more time. But, when you come out and say in 2025 that you're going to recognize Palestine as an entity unto itself, or a country, or the two-state solution, in essence, in the midst of negotiating with the U.S. how bloody stupid can you be? I mean, that just, again, just shows a lack of any kind of consideration about who he's dealing with at all. And in Blacklock's reporter, just to read you a really quick snippet here, Prime Minister Mark Carney yesterday made diplomatic history with Parliament in summer recess by announcing recognition of Palestine as a country. MPs, including members of the Liberal caucus, voted down an identical proposal in 2024. So how bad can it be that he chooses now to do that? That's just stupid. And if people in the East thought that they were getting this wizard and voted in this Liberal, then I guess we get what we pay for, so to speak. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you. And you have said it. Ken, you've got us off and running on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Be right back with more of your calls just ahead. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So just before we get back to more of your calls, I'm just going to throw this out there. You can take it for what it is. The stock market was already weak today because today was the day of the unemployment report in the United States, and there are almost no jobs created in the United States, and the stock market doesn't like tariffs, and Trump announced tariffs, right? Even on Canada, 35% so-called fentanyl tariffs, did that yesterday in an executive order. But the selling in the stock market has accelerated. It may have something to do with a posting on social media on Truth Social from Donald Trump. This is what it says. I'm quoting here. Based on the highly provocative statements from the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. Words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. I hope this will be not one of those instances. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Holy smokes. I was not familiar with this. I have a news story in front of me from Reuters from yesterday, and all it says is former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev on Thursday told U.S. President Donald Trump to remember that Moscow possessed Soviet-era nuclear strike capabilities of last resort after Trump told Medvedev to watch his words. So just one more thing to help you get into the weekend, and hope you don't lose sleep on that one. My goodness gracious. And let's get back to the phone lines. Donna is up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Thank you for being patient there. Donna, welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my call. My opinion of Carney is he's failing in more ways than one, and he's like Trudeau. Every time I see them on TV, I change the channel. I used to change the channel when Trudeau was on. They do the same with Carney. But something that I had actually called about, I don't know if you're aware of it, it was by a Blacklock reporter about all the 22 diplomats that were fired for fraud, embezzlement. It was in the July 30th article. They were fired for fraud, embezzlement, soliciting kickbacks, etc. No charges were laid.
That's
and
right.
It's ridiculous. In 2024, there were 218 complaints in 2024, and 22 were fired. But I think there's about 13,000. The article said there was 13,000 employees. But why did Mark Carney take Melanie Jolie back in as one of his ministers. She did a lousy job allowing all that to happen. And why aren't these people charged? Shame on these people, these well-paid diplomats that get tons of money.
Well, you ask why. You ask why were they not charged? Nobody ever called the police. They just kind of dealt with it as a human resources issue. They didn't even call the police to investigate any of this.
Yeah, but
that's why.
If you or I stole from the companies where we worked, we'd be in jail. Anyway, that's another thing. I'm furious. I was at Cards last night with a bunch of seniors, and that's what they were talking about. And they said it's disgusting what's going on. And this is taxpayer money, for goodness sake. And, how much we don't know. And apparently one guy who was, according to this BlackRock reporter, one guy, 7 years he was doing stuff till finally he got caught. So there's no honesty, no accountability, and no transparency. And taxpayers are getting fed up. Anyway, that's all I've got to say.
All right. I hope you feel better now.
People can look it up.
Yes, I just interviewed Tom Korski from Blacklock's reporter, ma'am, less than an hour ago, and we talked about this. So it is getting some media coverage, at least on this radio show it is. But thank you again for bringing it to our listeners' attention. 22 Canadian diplomats fired last year. The caller is right. This is from Blacklock's reporter. Fraud, theft, embezzlement, soliciting kickbacks, and other wrongdoing. According to Department of Foreign Affairs figures, no police were called. I'm Rob Snow. It's the Friday Free for All Talkback Hour. We'll go wherever you want to take us. Join the discussion on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday Free for All Talk Back. Let's go to Al is up next, calling from Alberta. Hello, Al. You're on the air. What's on your mind, Al?
Yeah, Rob, I got 2 nuclear subs. That's a scary situation.
Sure is.
I think I'm grab myself a double shot of rye, and oh boy, that's really scary. I wanted to talk about Trump is what it was about, but talking about the faith 400 years ago, and everybody around the king was afraid to even say, "King, you do not have any clothes on," because he would behead them. Trump is the same. Nobody around him has the balls to say, "Donald, that tariff you're charging," she is sitting over there in Peking's thinking, what kind of an idiot is this guy? We're not sending a bag full of money over with our shipment. He's getting the money from his own people and forcing it down their throats. What, but nobody would tell him, "Hey, guy, you got no clothes. You don't have an idea what you're doing." Except all of a sudden we got nuclear subs. Oh, boy. That's scary as hell.
Let me ask you, Al, while I have you on the line. So the fact that this deadline has come and gone and Canada still doesn't have a trade deal with Trump, do you put that at the feet of Carney at all? Is that a failure by Carney at all?
Absolutely not, Rob, because take a look at Trump. Has he ever done a damn deal that he lives with? No, he'll break anything at all. It does not matter. He's like, look at all the deals he's done over the years. The investors lose their shirt and he walks down the street with his head up. Like his chin up. He's just a big shot. The guy is Trump Airlines, Trump Casinos. It doesn't matter. He does not live by anything. And I believe you mentioned this where most of our Canadian product goes under this free trade agreement that he signed and bragged about. Well, does he care? No. Here, let's get 35%. Well, he's getting a 35% from the farmers in Minnesota that voted for him. Do they not realize what he's doing to them? They will someday, but it's just, I'm going to run, Rob. I'm
all right, you run. You go ahead and run, and go grab some rye if that's what you're in the mood for. That's all well and good, sir. To Red Deer, Matt is up next in Red Deer. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, Matt. What's on your mind?
Well, I mean, what I was going to talk about kind of a little bit insignificant compared to the nuclear subs going now, but I just wonder, like, is Trump's whole idea just to throw as much crap at the fan, see what sticks, so the extreme crazy balances out the semi-crazy stuff he's doing, and people just can't keep track of everything that he's going on, so he sneaks some stuff by us?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine at this point, sir.
Well, and the other reason I called was I just wanted to pick your brain on, like, what is your thoughts on the whole putting like levies on exported goods going to the U.S. and using those levies to offset the damage that the Trump tariffs are doing to the Canadian businesses, mainly the steel industry, because that seems to be the one that's the hardest hit.
Do you mean putting counter tariffs on American exports coming into Canada?
Export fees, like Ford was talking about doing that with the electricity and such.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, export taxes.
So that's okay. So that's what I meant. Yeah, I'm just using the wrong words.
Yeah. Okay. I'm personally not in favor of it because I think it would reignite a lot of anger in Alberta if that was the case. That would be my concern about it.
You think it would with the electricity coming from Ontario? You think that would upset Alberta?
Well, typically, when it comes to that kind of charge, it's the federal government that controls that sort of thing. And because natural resources are in the domain of the provinces, that's something that is never that was part of the National Energy Program back in the 1980s. So it's going to be a tough sell in Alberta.
No, and that's
sure is. Friday free for all. Talk back to Sylvan Lake. We have Wade up next. Hello, Wade.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you these days?
Well, I was pretty happy. I'm sitting out here in the sun and drinking a coffee, watching the world go by here, and listening to your show. And for the people that think that Mark Carney is stupid, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he should be removed from power immediately.
Why? He just won an election. Why is that?
Come on, he was installed. I mean, mass immigration and voters.
He was installed by the voters, sir. Come on. He was installed by the voters. We had a free and fair election.
Right.
He was installed by the voters.
Well, anyway, so he knows exactly what he's doing. He's selling out our country in favor of the EU and China. I mean, look at we just gave China on your show this morning. What did you say? $1.1 billion to build these ships, and Chrystia Freeland is not going to call it back.
Well, that's just the federal government. It's the government of British Columbia that's going to be giving them the most money. The whole package, I think, is almost $4.5 billion, and that's if they can build them on time and on budget, right? So
right, sure. But at the end of the day, Mark Carney knows exactly what he's doing. He is selling out our country in favor of the EU and China, and he should be removed from power immediately. You know, when I joined our CA board here a year ago or 2 years ago, and I got involved, and all I heard was, we need to hold the government to account. We need to hold the government to account. So I started asking people, what does that look like? What is our method of holding the government to account? And nobody could answer me. You stand on the corner and you jump up and down and scream and yell and then vote again in 4 years after they destroy your country. That's how we hold them to account.
Right. Okay. I just don't buy this business. He was installed. He was installed by the voters in a free and fair election, Wade. But that's where we're going to part ways on that. I know, you see it another way, and that's all well and good. But let's move along here. Emerson is up next, calling from Calgary today. Hi, Emerson.
Hi, Rob. I always like to end my week by being able to talk to you. It's a nice way to say have a good weekend. I just wanted to say that, you know what I'm really disappointed is during the election, the big thing was that Poilievre was too Trumpy. He's not strong enough to go against Trump. Mark Carney is better suited. And it just seems like, for whatever reason, that Carney has taken this passive role. Nothing has really changed. He's not the Messiah that everybody thought he was going to be. Trump is still kind of like, oh, you guys won't listen to me? Well, I'll show you. I'm going to do this. It's sort of like he's this vindictive dictator against Canada. Like he's got this major hatred towards us. And Carney is just sitting back saying, oh, we'll get the job done. It may not be on his time, but, we'll get the job. And it just really fires me up because basically Carney won the election on who was better suited to take on Trump. And I know that there were other issues, but really that was the ballot box issue. And at the end of the day, we're stuck with a prime minister for the next at least another 2 years who's saying, don't worry, the job will get done. It may not be the way you want it to be done, but it'll get done. And we're going to suffer in the meantime when he kind of led us down a road saying Canada's not for sale, never will be, certain things are never for sale. But don't worry, I'll show Mr. Trump that he's not going to bully us. I don't know, Rob, am I missing something? Do you see that he's kind of just taken a passive role?
When I was thinking about this as a topic today and covering it as a news story, I guess one of the things I've been thinking about is there does not seem to be at this point a great sense of urgency the way there was during an election campaign, when people were saying, oh, I'm going to boycott the United States and I'm going out and I'm buying a Canadian flag. And every day, Carney was making a speech about how this is the greatest crisis of our lives and the world will never be the same again. All of this stuff that had a great sense of urgency to it now. Other than, one statement posted on social media, you've heard nothing from the prime minister really in the last 24 hours. The last time he spoke to the media, the main focus was about recognizing Palestine as a state. Right. Dominic LeBlanc has been down in Washington all this week, which is good, I suppose. Let's hope he's making progress, but he hasn't really said anything. And he's our point person there who's supposed to be meeting with all these top Trump officials. So that's one thing. Where's this sense of urgency if this really is, the greatest crisis of our lives now that August 1st has come and is soon to be passed. But the other thing I've also been thinking, in fairness, is let's say the Conservatives had won the election. It was Prime Minister Poilievre right now. Would things be any different, or would we be in the exact same spot, and would Trump be putting the screws to a Poilievre government? And I don't know the answer to that. None of us know the answer to that.
I don't think any of us will ever know what's going to happen, but it just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like the jets have cooled off with the Carney camp.
I would agree there.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you again for allowing us to have a voice. I would hire you without a resume. You're fantastic, and I love you. Have a beautiful long week.
Well, thank you, Emerson. Yeah, that's very kind. Thank you. Very kind words.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll stop here and be right back on the phone. So we have 3 lines available there if you want to jump on and join the discussion. You can weigh in on the Trump stuff. You can raise something else entirely. It's the Friday Free for All Talkback, 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
You know what? We've taken a lot of calls from Wild Rose Country today, from Alberta. So we're going to go to Atlantic, Canada, because we haven't taken a call from Nova Scotia yet today. And I'm going to take Wayne's call. He is calling from God's country. Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. How are you, Wayne?
It is God's country. But when I was a kid, I used to listen to Norris Nathanson on CJCB because he was like an originator of a talk show. And,
that's right.
And Cheer Radio had an evening talk show on for a little while, but both of them things are gone. But once I got called to Halifax to work, I finally found Rick Howe.
Rick Howe, sure.
And I continue listening to that show every day with the guy there. But when I listen to your show, and I love your show, but your show is advertising 2 hours of talk, and we're only getting 1 hour of talk. And when you guys go off on a medical or vacation or whatever, there ain't nobody filling in. So we're re-listening to early morning shows just to cover in the time. But anyway, I want you to address that and see what can be done.
Well, sir, these are decisions that are made by management. I'm not in the management. These are decisions that are made way above my pay grade. So I don't know what to tell you.
You should be. You should be. But no, thank you for taking my call. Have a good day.
Well, you have a good day as well. And I remember Norris Nathanson. He used to host a show on CJCB, and you know what it was called? It was called Talkback. And when I was growing up, I was addicted to Talkback. Drove my father nuts to listen to Talkback. And I kind of have carried on that name, and I've been using it for, 20 years. It's kind of my tribute to my youth, I guess you could say. But thank you for your call. Jody is up next. He's in Calgary today. Hi, Jody.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Jody. Hey, good to hear from you, Jody. What's up?
First of all, I'd just like to say I was born and bred in the Maritimes, and I love the Maritimes, so I just want to say that. And second of all, I want to say I do agree with that caller from Sylvan Lake where he said that the Prime Minister is going to sell Canada, which he is. And I cannot believe that he brought up that Palestinian situation before the trade deadline, before the tariff deadline. Like, that was like how dumb can a person be? And I mean, like, we haven't seen anything yet with this guy. This guy is going to do some things that's going to turn this country upside down, man. He is a globalist, a World Economic Forum puppet. And Canada, we don't know what we got with this guy. He scares me. Like, even worse than Trudeau, he scares me.
Really?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I can see right through him. I don't trust him. And I read some books on him, and he screwed up Great Britain, like with financially, and he's just a snake in the grass. He's a snake in the grass. And like that guy from Sylvan Lake said, I know, that he can't, just like step down or whatever, but we need an election. Like, I mean, I'm hoping less than 2 years, because this guy, he's gonna wreck Canada worse than we are right now.
Wow, not a lot of faith. I mean, the polls say he's still enjoying a big honeymoon and a nice lead in the polls. Like, he's up by 12, 13 points over Poilievre and the Conservatives.
Like Parliament hasn't even been for a couple weeks. So like he hasn't answered any questions from the Conservatives, and he's just he's anyway. Like I said, I mean, the guy is a joke, man, and I mean, I'm really scared for Canada, because this guy, the mass immigration is going to get worse. Like he said, he was going to take care of that.
Well, they are cutting back on immigration levels. I mean, they've recognized that it's gotten way out of hand, and that it's not at all in line with the social capacity of the country. Jody, I'm going to let you go there. Thank you for your call today. Yeah, good to hear from you. Jody's from rural New Brunswick originally, if I recall. But just on this issue, I mean, it did not go unnoticed. Prime Minister Carney's decision to move ahead with a recognition of a state of Palestine. They asked Trump about it yesterday as he was doing this executive order. And then over on Fox Business, you had Lutnick, who's the Commerce Secretary, really go after Carney and call that decision tone deaf. Let's play that, Leo. Play that clip if you can, please.
Well, they have to pay a fair.
Clip 3,
Leo. Canada, I take it, not so much, or not so good.
Well, imagine, like, the president truthed out that the Canadians put out, we're going to recognize the Palestinian state. I mean, come on, don't be so tone deaf, right? The president is totally into trying to get peace in Gaza, and you're throwing your hat in the ring from Canada? Come on. They still haven't solved dairy. They still have 2 countries on the whole world retaliated against the United States of America tariffs. China, which we all know, and Canada. So you know what? I just don't see the president stepping off the gas. Now, Mark Carney came down, had a really nice lunch with the president when he first got elected. You know, if he makes that call and if he starts turning on the charm and if he takes off his retaliation, and stops the silliness, maybe the president will let it down a bit. But right now, 35%, that letter he sent, is surely in the cards.
Okay. So, as I say, it hasn't gone unnoticed, and I don't think it's gone over very well. Just the timing, and a number of callers raised this when we talked about this decision from the prime minister yesterday to recognize the state of Palestine, that it was premature and ill-timed given where things are right now with trade negotiations. Be right back. It's Talkback Friday Free for All. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Mike in Kincardine is up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Hi there, Mike. What's on your mind today?
What's on my mind today, Rob, is this whole thing about the state of Palestine and everything, the recognition and stuff like that. Did Trump go after the UK, France, or any of the other EU members for recognizing Palestine? No, he didn't. He did not at all.
Okay.
Mr. Trump, no matter what deal you sign with him, right, will never honor it. He'll get off each morning off the crapper, and he will make another tariff threat or break a deal or whatever. So I am very disappointed. I'm a progressive conservative. I've lived in Alberta. I've lived in Ontario. I've lived in Quebec, right? But I'm very disappointed with Mr. Carney. First of all, this is an urgent situation. Why isn't Parliament sitting? Why isn't the ministers back in Ottawa working on this? Now, I believe there is many sins of the past governments. The globalization I've seen in Kitchener-Waterloo in Quebec, manufacturing ripped out of our towns here and moved down to Mexico or the United States through consolidation. That's our problem. Now, I think Mr. Carney has to get a deal in the short term to stabilize the U.S. trading relationship, and in the long term, he's got to stop talking about building nation projects and start doing them immediately. And the eco-nutters like Guilbeault and Evie in BC, I'm an Ontarian now, but I've lived out in Alberta, but I believe we should be building pipelines as soon as possible because the European Union just signed a deal with Trump to get $700 billion worth of energy from him.
Yeah.
Why should Alberta sell their oil to the United States at a discount? That's nuts.
Remember when when Mr. Trudeau said there was no business case, right? No business case.
Yeah, well,
crazy.
Well, there certainly is now. So I think
missed opportunity.
The other thing too, it's an opportunity. Also, it would get the Europeans off Russian energy, which would help Ukraine out. And I am just very disappointed with Mr. Carney because he seems to be all talk. He says elbows up and all this other stuff, and I think that was just malarkey. He's been moving his elbows up and down, and he might as well do the chicken dance at Oktoberfest in Kitchener-Waterloo because he's flapping his elbows up and down. So that's my thoughts, Rob.
All right. I'm glad you shared them. That's why we do the Friday Free for All Talkback Hour. And if people, want to blow off a little steam, maybe it'll make them feel a little better going into the August long weekend. Look, we'll stop here because if I bring you on now, you'd only have about 25 seconds to say your piece. Full hour of Talkback, though, just ahead. Last one, as a matter of fact, until we're back on Tuesday. So We hope you'll join the conversation right after the latest breaking news at 1-833-668-2577. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio. Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. It is our Friday free-for-all, so we're wide open. It's open line, open topic, and we'll follow your lead on whatever topic you want to raise today. Robert is up first in hour number 2 on the air and ready to go. And what's on your mind today, Robert? Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi there.
The comments the other day about whether Carney was elected or appointed. Can you tell me on what ballot you voted for Carney?
Okay, I didn't do a show on whether Mark Carney was elected or appointed, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
This is to a client about 5 callers back. You were insisting Carney was elected. He was insisting Carney was appointed.
Okay.
No Canadian prime minister has ever been elected prime minister. He's not on a ballot. We do not vote for a prime minister.
Yeah. Okay.
They are appointed by their party after a vote inside the party. And then they're forced upon us when that party wins. But technically, the guy was right. He is appointed by the party. He won his riding.
Well, he said he was installed. He said he was installed. He was suggesting something nefarious had happened.
I didn't take it as nefarious because prime ministers in Canada are never elected. They're installed by the parties that they are the leader of.
Yeah, I understand that, sir. Thank you for the civics lesson.
It was the way that conversation. I thought you both were right in a way.
Okay,
but that's
okay.
That's one of the parts.
I think my impression was that he was suggesting somehow the election was not free and fair. That was my point. I believe the election was free, fair, transparent. And I think the outcome totally legitimate.
Yeah,
you may not agree with
people
can disagree with the outcome, not like the outcome, whatever, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyways, that was just my point.
Okay, and you have raised it, sir. Thank you, and I appreciate your call. Linda in southern Alberta. Let's go to Linda up next on Talkback. Hi, Linda.
Hi,
Linda.
Yeah. Hello.
What's on your mind, Linda?
Hear me? Well,
yes.
Well, you've kind of beat that horse to death now with Carney's Palestine state thing, so I'm not going to address that. I was just going to ask, with Russia and United States with these nuclear subs, so where is he positioning them?
His statement doesn't say.
Oh, okay.
It just says in the appropriate regions. Whatever that means.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just feel like we're the fence they're fighting over back and forth. So I was just kind of wondering.
Yeah, it doesn't say. It just says in the appropriate regions.
Yeah.
Rather alarming.
Yes. And very, I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, not stating sort of thing, right?
Well, you could use better news on a Friday.
Yes, that's right. So much for a long weekend.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. As far as the Palestine thing, I think the other 2 people that were, or other places that were involved already had deals with Trump before they even said that, right? With the UK and France.
I'd have to go back and look at the timing. I can't say right now. I don't know.
Okay.
The exact timing of when they, reached agreements and when they said they would recognize a Palestinian state. What came first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because for me, it's like we're already huddled in the foxhole, waiting for something, and then Carney drops a grenade in for us to cover. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, some people think with the announcement on recognizing a state of Palestine, there might have even been some wag the dog going on, create a distraction because he was looking at this big deadline for countries to reach trade agreements with the Trump administration. And, that was the driving factor for the election of the Liberal Party and the elevation of Mark Carney to the prime minister's office, the man who knows how the world works. And now that deadline has come and gone, and the tariffs that were in place have only gone higher. I mean, it's been the news story for the last 24 hours. Trade deal deadline August 1st. What's holding things up? What are the obstacles? All of this stuff, and then the basically the day before, Mark Carney comes out and announces this and tries to make that the bigger story, because it is such a provocative position from Mr. Carney to take on the situation in the Middle East. So some people speculate he is talking about the Middle East. He's talking about Palestine. He's talking about Israel because he wanted to divert attention away from the fact that he doesn't have a deal with Trump. And now August 1st is come and gone, and Canadian businesses are not only going to be forced to pay the existing tariffs, but a higher tariff rate as well. Wayne in Southern Alberta, you just hang on the line, Wayne, and we'll get your call right after this. And we have 3 or 4 lines available there if you want to jump in and talk about anything and everything that has happened in the news this week, or an entirely different issue as well, because that's how we roll during the Friday free-for-all. I'm Rob Snow. Our number to call, 1-833-668-2577. And if you've never called before, if you're a first-time caller, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority here on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Right back to it on the Friday free-for-all Talk Back. Let's go to Wayne up next on Talk Back. Hi, hello. Wayne. Hi, Wayne. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just like to make some comments regarding this thing regarding Carney. First of all, I'm in Southern Alberta and I'm a conservative, but at the same time, I think we have to give the guy a chance. He was just elected at the end of April, so it's really only been in there 3 months. Now, if he was actually going to be selling us out, as I think some people indicated, I think we'd already have agreements that were pretty egregious to what we would normally expect. And I think he's taking a tactic that he can't negotiate in public, because that never works out well. And I don't know how you deal or work with a fellow like Trump, and I don't even know where his numbers come up from, because he's putting a tariff on Brazil, who he has a trade surplus with.
Okay. I didn't know that, but I'll take your word for it.
And so, yeah, and regarding the ship purchase and stuff like that, I agree. It looks really bad, and it should be elbows up.
So.
But that was with China. So we might have ended up in a trade war with China as well if we started making those types of moves. So I don't know when those agreements were initially made and how long they'd been negotiated and what the exit clause would be on any of those, but it could be very expensive to the public as well.
Could be.
And we've talked about this before.
And I would point out just Mark Carney is quite removed from that decision. I mean, that decision was made by a provincial crown corporation in British Columbia, right? Yeah. BC Ferries. So with it, and even the premier himself in British Columbia, Mr. Eby, is trying to disassociate his own government from that, saying, well, I didn't make that decision. That's an independent crown corporation with its own board of directors and its own management, and they make those decisions. We don't make those decisions. I would say, well, who appoints the board of directors of BC Ferries, right? They answer to the government of the day, most certainly. But the tie-in is the decision by the Federal Infrastructure Bank to back some of this up with $1 billion loan. So that's the connection to the Carney government.
Yeah, and I think part of that is what's the process look like for agreements of that size? The board of directors, should they be alerting who they report to or whatnot and get sign off? And does that
right? And another
you're talking about
another detail on that story is no Canadian shipyard submitted a bid. The shipyards in Canada have said we can't compete. We wouldn't have been able to do it for that price anyway. We can't compete with the labor rates in China and whatnot on a project of that size.
Yeah, I think it's a big challenge for and I think that's where Trump is going to find his tariff wars, and he's expecting all this manufacturing to suddenly appear in the U.S. because tariffs are high and people are going to build distribution centers and stuff like that down there. I don't know that he's going to be able to achieve that in the time frame. And just a quick comment, the Palestine thing, I don't think it would have mattered when Carney said anything about it. If it had been before the agreement, which it was, it makes it tough. If it had been after the agreement, then Trump could have went, oh my God, why didn't you tell me before we had an agreement? And now I'm canceling everything because you weren't negotiating in good faith. So,
okay, thank you, sir, for your call and hanging in there. Wayne, good to hear from you today. Interesting points. Nathan is up next, a first-time caller. Thank you for calling, Nathan. You're on the line. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Rob. I just want to say that I actually am happy with what Trump is doing. I know that everybody seems to want to hate on Trump and this and that, but you know why? Is because if it wakes Canada up, which it's doing, if it makes us realize that we need to get our resources to the global market, if it makes us work with each other, provinces and other provinces working together and trading, becoming better trading partners, you know what? I'm happy with what Trump's doing because it's waking us up. It's like we should have been doing this decades ago. Like, why does it take someone like Trump who, like him or hate him, maybe he's an idiot, maybe he's not, whatever. Why is it taking him to do what he's doing for us to wake up and actually say, oh, maybe we should be doing these things. Maybe we should be working together. Maybe we should be getting our stuff to the global market.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what, Giver, man, like it actually makes me laugh how stupid it seems the things that he's doing. Of course, from the normal person, you're like, what is this guy doing? Right. But I'm like, you know what, Giver, man, like if it makes Canada wake.
Right. There might be a bright side to it. Right. If, for how long have economists been complaining about the cost of the Canadian economy of interprovincial trade barriers? For those of us of a certain political persuasion, how long have we been lamenting the failure to develop and exploit our natural resources to their maximum potential? But both of those things, my gosh, it's been decades that we've been talking about those things, and at least here we are. We're kind of taking steps in that direction. So, and another thing would be spending on the military as well, which is going to be dramatically increased, and we've been laggards on that for decades as well. And that's not just a liberal government thing; that's a conservative thing. It's just a government thing.
100%, and like getting our borders solidified, all those things. It's like the down ripple effect of what Trump is doing to me is a huge positive, to be honest.
Okay. All right, Nathan. Thank you, sir. You've made your point. Got to run. Thank you. I understand completely. You're not the first person to raise that. Look on the bright side. He's making us clean up our own house, so to speak. Be right back. Stock back. More of your calls just ahead. This is News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's go to Kitchener, Ontario for the first time today, I believe. Scott is in Kitchener and is on Talkback. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Robbie. How are you?
I'm good. Scott, what's on your mind?
Well, first of all, this elbows up thing, Carney and the Liberals, is total garbage.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right.
We have to realize, I think, here, like our individual income is far less than the U.S. Our GDP is minuscule compared to the U.S.
It's a tenth, yeah.
For instance, I work in sales. I work in equipment sales.
Okay.
We've all but driven every bit of manufacturing out of Canada. We don't make anything here anymore. It's crippling me. Any equipment I bring in now to sell to my customers, to sell to private individuals or to customers and stuff, having a 25% tariff on it. Now if it's bumped up to 35%, it's like any business any municipality. I sell municipal equipment.
Okay.
Commercial equipment. Any sort of equipment purchase made is 35% more. So the sales have slowed down dramatically. Like it's crippling. Guys aren't buying stuff. And you know what? When the municipalities have to keep buying because our cities are growing, we're getting more immigration, we need more equipment to look after roads, infrastructure,
Sure.
all this. It's going to cost them far more. Income property taxes are going to have to go up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there could be that's interesting. There could be a ripple effect to that. So I don't know what kind of municipal equipment are you talking about? Are you like, I don't know, sidewalk plows and stuff like that, or what? I don't know.
Farming equipment to begin with. There's going to be another farming equipment, municipal equipment to look after roads, commercial equipment to build your backyard patio, commercial equipment to maintain sidewalks, grass, anything like that, anything. All that stuff we sell, and it's crippling. Our sales have dramatically.
Wow.
It's terrible, and like, who cares if Trump imposes a 40%? Well, I just shouldn't say who cares. We are going to be crippled far before Americans truly feel it. In my opinion, how we are going to be hurt, and I think maybe instead of sending delegates down there to discuss it, maybe we should be meeting with Mr. Trump and you know, we're like big brother and little brother. Instead of trying to put our elbows up and all this bull crap Canadian, elbows up, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, Doug Ford, let's do this. Look at what it's going to do. Like any tariffs that our government keeps putting on their stuff coming over here, we don't make anything. Everything that comes through the U.S. or comes here that I sell comes out of the U.S. It's crippling.
Oh, really?
It's brutal.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. You know, if municipalities if they're replacing their fleet of this equipment and they're paying a third more, then it's only a matter of time before that trickles down to the property taxpayer. Not even something that crossed my mind, sir. Thank you so much for raising that. Gosh, for news reporters who cover City Hall, that would be a really interesting news story. If I was a news director, I might be dispatching somebody down to the Public Works Department of my local municipality and say, start digging into that. Could this start showing up on the property tax bills of the nation? Very, very interesting angle. Okay, be right back. I'm Rob Snow. This is Talkback Friday Free for All on News Radio. Maybe everybody's all talked out. I'm almost all talked out. I'll be talked off in about 25 minutes or so into the long weekend. Every single phone line is available right now, folks. So if you want to jump on and help us end the week on Talkback, your wait won't be too long. Put you right on air. Every morning when I wake up, I'm getting ready for the show. I try to consume as much news as I can from all across the country because we're on in different parts of the country. We're on for a time in Atlantic Canada and Halifax and region in Southern Ontario, in Alberta. And of course, everybody can listen online all across the country, all around the world. And from time to time, I won't say always, but from time to time, There are interesting issues that pop up, and they're making news for various reasons in all of these places. And in the last few weeks, we talked about this a little bit yesterday with our news reporter in Toronto, Richard Southern. One of the issues that has been making news across the country is bike lanes. Bike lanes, which is usually in the news business. I mean, bike lanes, hardcore local issue. The story isn't so much about, to me, about bike lanes and the classic debate about bike lanes and whether municipalities put too much money into bike lanes, cyclists versus drivers, all of this stuff and that ratio. But rather, the real heart of the news story is you have provincial leaders, premiers who lead conservative governments, and they're really flexing their muscle and speaking out against bike lanes and going so far as to threaten to intervene with the business of local councils if those local councils don't change their thinking on bike lanes. It's kind of odd. It's really kind of odd. Like the bike lane, the great classic bike lane debate is kind of national now. Bike lanes, as I say, local issue, local bike lanes, local roads, local traffic issues, you would think would be the domain of the local level of government. The city of Calgary, the city of Halifax, Kitchener-Waterloo, the city of Toronto. But you have the PC government in Nova Scotia. You have the PC Ford government in Ontario, and you have the UCP government led by Danielle Smith in Alberta, and they're all up in a lather over bike lanes. You would think these premiers would have, say, bigger problems to deal with. You know, tariffs, fixing the healthcare system. School year will be starting soon, like in a month from now. Kids will be back in school. I know in Alberta, what's going to happen with the teachers? Could they go on strike? And yet we have governments that are spending time, for one reason or another, picking fights with municipal governments over bike lanes. It can come across as small potatoes. You would think the very reason you elect municipal councils and mayors is to deal with these local issues. And if their plans are stupid, let the local officials suffer the political consequences in a municipal election. For example, in Alberta, this year is a municipal election year. Next year in Ontario is the municipal election year. But my gosh, these premiers, I mean, they all have issues with bike lanes. In Ontario, think about Ontario, population 16 million, GDP 1.1 trillion. You have Doug Ford with government lawyers in court fighting endless legal battles over bike lanes in downtown Toronto. And that story went from crazy to insane this week with the judge ruling, a far-left activist judge, ruling that Doug Ford's desire to remove bike lanes from 3 very busy Toronto streets was a violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. What a crazy decision. Crazy. You have a constitutionally protected right to bike lanes now. It was challenged by a cycling lobby group in Toronto on charter grounds. Okay. And because now that it was challenged on charter grounds and the ruling was, well, if you want to remove bike lanes, it's unconstitutional, Doug Ford is now well within his rights to invoke the notwithstanding clause of the Charter of Rights and say to the courts, okay, you're telling me that tearing up bike lanes is against someone's human rights. Notwithstanding that, we're going to do it anyway. Because we're the government and the voters elected us to do this, in an election, and you're an unelected judge. That's actually what the notwithstanding clause is for. Notwithstanding clause, charter, human right. We're talking about bike lanes here. Bike lanes. Then you have Premier Houston in Nova Scotia, Tim Houston. He went on a rant a few weeks ago about one bike lane on one street in Halifax. I guess the city council voted to take away a lane of traffic, put in a 2-way bike lane, and the mayor of Halifax, who actually used to be a Liberal MP, Mayor Fillmore, he didn't like that. Houston doesn't like it. He's a progressive conservative. And so now these two are teaming up and opposing this decision by the elected city council. And you have to remember, in the Constitution, municipalities don't really exist in any way, shape, or form in the Canadian Constitution. Municipalities are considered to be creatures of the provinces. So a provincial government has enormous power to wield over municipal governments. And Premier Houston is suggesting he's open to using some of those powers, including giving the mayor of Halifax what are known as strong mayor powers, which would give the mayor the power to veto decisions by an elected city council. All because Houston doesn't like what they're doing with a street called Morris Street in Halifax. Busy street, important street for commercial purposes, lots of traffic. But I want you, here's the Premier of Nova Scotia, and he's just slamming the local council in Halifax about plans for one bike lane. Roll the tape there, Leo.
The only people that don't seem to be concerned about the traffic in HRM are the HRM Council. You see this decision on Morris Street, they're going to do another one-way street in Halifax. They're going to take an important street, which is important for obviously the movement of people. For emergency, it's a route to hospitals. It's a route to the port. It's a really important street. And so I think people who live in Halifax and people who are watching are kind of just scratching their heads and saying, why would this be the time to take that street and make it into a one-way street and take half of it for bicycles? So I think those are the types of things that give the ordinary people on the street pause for thought, and they certainly give me pause for thought. So we're always looking for ways that we can make sure that governments are best serving the citizens. And there's a serious, serious disconnect right now between serving the citizens of Halifax and the decisions that council is making.
Government going to use Bill 24 to overrule that?
We're looking at it.
We're looking at it. You know, we're going to intervene in the business of a local city council. You're talking about the premier of a province. Not the only premier of a province who's ready to do that, and I can speak to the Calgary situation, but I'll have to wait and do that when we come back. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yes, in the final 10, 15 minutes of Talk Back here on a Friday. Great to be with you. I am Rob Snow, and Ken has called in.
Yes,
to have
Rob.
a say on a topic. Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Yes. I think that we Canadians enjoy staying in the hole. For instance, the auto manufacturers claim Canada can't make their own cars. England is England is very small. They're smaller than Alberta. England make cars. France make cars. Germany make cars. And we in Canada can't make our own cars. We like to stay in the hole.
Okay.
Let me move on.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I don't know about this, but it's just a thought I have.
Okay.
If we are interested in the steel industry and the aluminum and the car, whatever it is, I don't know what prevents John Public from being shareholders in these companies. I really don't know. But I think those things could be like a cooperative. Maybe the laws, I don't know, say that if I own a car company, I can choose who is my director, who is my shareholder. But if I'm interested in Canada and the car industry, can I be a shareholder? Can the public have shares in it and save it?
Well, you could buy a stock in the automakers that have operations in Canada, sir. Ford Motor Company has operations in Canada, in Oakville, for example. You could buy shares in Ford if you wanted to. General Motors has significant operations in Canada. You could buy shares in General Motors. The same with Chrysler in Windsor, Stellantis, I guess it's called now. You could buy shares in that company. Honda has operations in Alliston, Ontario, sir. You could buy shares in Honda if you wanted to.
All right.
Right.
People,
and as for, if you wanted to be a shareholder and support the Canadian steel industry, I mean, all kinds of steel companies in Canada that have shares on the stock market. Algoma, you could buy shares in Algoma. You could buy shares in Stelco or Russell Metals, or you have the Labrador Iron Ore Company, you have Champion Iron, all of these companies, right? So Alcoa, why you would go buy a few shares of Alcoa or something.
Well, thanks for the education. And I say,
okay.
Know that I know, and know that plenty of people as ignorant as me know, we should be buying shares in all these companies and be alive. But we don't hear them advertised. We don't know, and we don't seem to be bothered about it.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's a failure of industry in Canada. Maybe big industry in Canada, specifically, steel, iron ore, aluminum, base metals, whatever the case might be. Maybe they should start really doing a better job of telling the Canadian story and what they're really providing to the Canadian economy. Maybe it would wake a few people up.
Yeah, we don't know. I didn't know. Anyway,
okay.
And the other thing is, if we continue to say, if it is cheaper in China, we're going to buy from China, we're not competitive, that's baloney. The workers in Canada have to decide whether or not they want to be alive. If we want to keep sending the ship, if the man not making ship in Canada say we're not competitive, something wrong with him. It's not a matter of labor.
Well, I'm just telling you, when they put out that tender, in British Columbia, we need new ferries for the BC ferry service. Not a single Canadian shipyard even bothered to bid. They said we can't compete with the low wages and the cheap goods and all the subsidies that the Chinese government throws at its shipyards. They didn't even submit a bid.
Well,
they're being undercut so much by China.
That is what. Well, Trump has an idea that tariff is the answer to it. I don't know if that is the answer to it. But we in Canada need to find the answer to be able to be competitive. We can't just throw your hands on the air and say, we're not competitive, give somebody else.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Great to hear from you, sir. I love the passion in your voice. I really, really do. Be right back. Linda, hang on the line. I'll get to you right after this here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Get to Linda on the Friday Free for All Talk Back. Hi, Linda. What's on your
Rob,
mind today?
how are you doing this week?
Yes, fine. What's up?
Thank you. Okay, we talked about tariffs and industries and bike lanes. Let's talk about pedestrians.
Pedestrians, okay, all right.
Okay, in Calgary, we've had an influx of people being hit by cars. And really, Rob, my heart goes out to the people who have lost a loved one because of that. But the onus has to be taken not completely off the driver, but it has to be, some of the onus has to be definitely put on the pedestrian. I drive down the street, and more times than not, I see people on their phones, not looking, walking right across. The break time that I've had to, I've had to slam on my brakes.
Oh, really?
And people have to realize that, you know what? This is a crosswalk. I'm driving a 2,000-pound weapon. And I'm doing the best to keep everyone safe because I like my life. I don't want to get hurt. And I don't want to hurt anyone else.
Yes.
And I think it should be brought to the attention of the public that you've got to stop at this crosswalk, put your phone down, and look at what you're doing. You know, my heart goes out to a 70-year-old lady here in Calgary that had hit someone. I can't imagine what she's going through.
Must be terrible.
And I also can't imagine her going down the street at 90 miles an hour. I mean, I'm a senior.
Yeah,
I've lost that ability. Right?
Yeah.
And I think it's time that we stop blaming the drivers all the time. Yes, the drivers are to blame at times.
Well, you know, you're talking about pedestrians, but this is also something, Linda, that comes up when we talk about bike lanes. The general behavior of some cyclists. I won't say all, but some cyclists. Some cyclists don't follow the rules of the road. They run stop signs. They run red lights. They don't signal. They ride on the sidewalk. And just like with pedestrians, you know, when someone gets hit, you know, there's tremendous outrage, and it's the driver who gets blamed and all of this stuff, right? So, yeah.
And I think that you know, it should be a public awareness that, you know, you got to be safe. Like, you know, there's been too many people in Calgary that have been hurt or killed, and again, I say condolences to those families because I wouldn't want to go through that. How many of them were not paying attention, you know, and it just breaks my heart. It really does. Like, we got to talk about pedestrians. Put your phones down, you know, pay attention. I know you're listening to music, but you can't hear the car horn. You know, all these different things. So I've said my piece. I've been wanting to say this for weeks.
Well, there you go. I'm glad we gave you a forum to do it, Linda. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll tell you what, I mean, being a driver, especially, you know, if you're in whatever rush hour in the big city, you have to have your head on a swivel. Now you're sharing the road with not just all of your fellow motorists, but you're out there with public transportation. You'll be out there with, you know, people in scooters because they have mobility issues. E-scooters are so popular these days. Cyclists, and of course pedestrians. I mean, it could be like a zoo. We'll be back on Tuesday. Thanks to everyone who called and participated in the show this week. Great job this week, Leo, as our producer this week. Thank you so much. And to everyone, have a great long weekend. Hope you get to enjoy some time with your family. The latest breaking news is next on News Radio.